Am I the a-hole for throwing them out of a house that we own? Son and future in-laws decide to exclude his family from wedding. They thought son owned the house, not us. My wife and I bought a 4-bedroom house in Pennsylvania that my son lives in. Our son went to college in PA and wanted to stay in the area, so we bought the house as a second home. We live in New Jersey and commute into Manhattan for work. We figured that he would have a place to live, and we could visit every so often and spend some quality time together. We pay the taxes and services or maintenance on the house. Our son pays for his groceries and the house utilities. All was going well for a few years. Our son met a girl and they got serious. We met her and she seemed nice enough. They announced their engagement and she moved into the house with our son. Now for the problem, the wedding. We held a little get-to-know-you barbecue at the Pennsylvania house. My son and daughter were there, as were our son's fiancé, her parents, and her sisters. We all seemed to be getting along well. My wife, daughter, the fiancé, her mother, and her sisters went into the house with my son. A few minutes later, my wife and daughter came out and were really upset. They came over and told me we were leaving and driving back to New Jersey. I tried to find out what happened. Once we got back to New Jersey and they calmed down, they told me that our son and his fiancée, along with her family, didn't want us at the wedding. According to what I was told, we're not their kind of people. I was livid. I called my son and asked him what the hell this was about. He told me that her family felt we were not good enough and would embarrass them at a family wedding, and that we were all uninvited from the wedding. I let a week go by to calm myself down, then drove back to the Pennsylvania house. The new future in-laws were in the house along with the fiancé. It appeared that they had all moved into the house. They asked me why I was there, and I told them that since we weren't invited to the wedding, I was coming over to talk to my son. They told me to leave their house. I lost it and told them they had 30 days to get out. I told my son I was selling the house and he could find somewhere else to live with all of them. Later, I went to a realtor in town and listed the house for sale. They called my son at work and told him what I said. Apparently, they thought he owned the house. He called me and asked why I was selling his house. I told him I paid for it, along with the taxes, and it is mine. He had been living there rent-free, but since he doesn't want us in his new life, he has to get out. I told him the same as I told his future in-laws. They have 30 days to get out, or I'll get a lawyer and have them evicted. Am I the a-hole for taking a hard stance on this? He is my son, but the in-laws seem to have taken over, and we no longer count. Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. You don't need a lawyer in 30 days. You need one now. I am not familiar with Pennsylvania tenant laws, but you need to follow everything by the book so they can't contest anything. I would also go back and video record with a timestamp the entire property, inside and out, so they can be held accountable for any damage done. Not the a-hole for your stance on the in-laws. However, with your son, I suggest you guys have a conversation and see why he's willing to cut you out for a new family. It seems like you guys were happy until this relationship started. Don't destroy your family to one-up another. Their daughter will likely stay with her parents. Maybe they are taking advantage of your son and he feels he can't express it. I was wondering if it was possible that the son was being manipulated, since his soon-to-be in-laws think he's independently wealthy. Isolating someone from their family is part of the road to abuse. Not the a-hole. Rock on, man. He was wrong, and there is no amount of excuses or words to convince me otherwise. It overall seems toxic, and there is no reason why he should allow anyone to exclude his family. I could understand if maybe you hadn't been supportive or there were issues, but based on what I read, it baffles me why he would even do this. Don't let it keep going forward. If this is the life he wants, they can find another house together and not use you for an easy life. Abusers isolate their partners from their friends and family. While OP's actions are correct, he should also be telling his son that he'll be there for him if he decides to leave the relationship. Next story. Am I the a-hole for kicking out my daughter after what she did? I have 2 daughters. One is Anne, 33, and the other is Mary, 31. Mary got married a couple of months ago. She had a hard time in life. She had surgery and got addicted to opioids at 15. She struggled through school for a while, ended up doing a lot of things she wasn't proud of, but once we managed to get her proper help, she was fine again. In context, the things she did while an addict were really bad. I'm talking about ruining family reunions, causing arguments around the house, the works. One example is when Anne was graduating. Mary didn't want to go and insisted we both go without her, but this was when she was at the height of her addiction. So we called her grandparents to watch her, and they would take 10 minutes to get to the house. She warned us that if she went, she might cause a scene, but Anne told her to just shut up and come, and that she should at least be able to sit through one of the most important moments of her life. Well, she ended up projectile vomiting all over the next 2 rows, then proceeded to break down and wail/cry because of the embarrassment. I left with her, while my husband stayed to support Anne. Obviously, her sister was furious at her, and when we got home, she promised Mary that when her graduation came, she'd ruin it for her. Mary had been off drugs long before her graduation and begged us not to let Anne come. We obliged and told Mary to stay at home or do something else. She was not welcome at the graduation. The graduation went fine. There were many more incidents in the 2 years when she was an addict, but in the end, she got clean, went to a good college, and got a great job. She's well past her addiction now. But because Anne never got to ruin her sister's graduation, she's been waiting for another big life moment to ruin. If it's relevant, Anne never went to college, so that high school graduation was her only graduation. Mary graduated from college, but only her father and I were able to go because of the distance. Now, the moment that Anne had dedicated herself to ruining was her wedding. Mary is often sensitive at life events, and she has some issues she's working through with a therapist on the side. She thought that Anne would be over the high school graduation issue, and Anne pretended like she was. In the dressing room right before Mary was meant to walk down the aisle, Anne took her aside and started insulting everything about her. I had gone to the bathroom at this time. She called her fat, said her dress made her look like a pathetic slut, and claimed her husband was constantly looking at other women's butts. She went on and on until Mary was on the ground in tears. Her makeup was ruined, no one was there to fix it, and the wedding was ruined. Mary walked down the aisle still crying. After this, I told the family what Anne had done, and no one's talking to her. I kicked her out and told her not to come back because she was a vile human being who can't let anything go. She has nowhere else to go now because she can't afford any other housing. Am I the a-hole? From the picture you've painted here, it sounds like you've alienated Anne for the last 15 years or so, while giving Mary the extra attention and support she needed. And it sounds like you've consistently, all 3 of you, sided against Anne on every issue. While I never would have done what she did, I honestly can't say I wouldn't be harboring serious resentment against all 3 of you as well. If I had been in Anne's position, you straight up said she wasn't wanted at her sister's graduation, whatever she was feeling over the embarrassment Mary caused her, at what sounds like the only major event she's ever had be about her, you don't think that didn't seriously compound the issue? Damn, you're the a-hole. Mary was a 15-year-old who accidentally got addicted to drugs. A tragedy, really. And while in an incredibly vulnerable state, she made grave mistakes. But she was still only a child. Anne wasn't wanted at the graduation because she literally said she would ruin it, which could truly affect Mary's recovery. And although you are right that Anne suffered too, at the wedding she, a 33-year-old woman, acted with such cruelty and malice, ruining her sister's wedding because she couldn't forgive something her 15-year-old sister did, which wasn't really her fault, getting addicted to pills given by a doctor for medical reasons. While I do believe the parents are a-holes for not properly dealing with it all, she fully deserved to be kicked out. Also, I think it's worth noting that Mary didn't want to make a scene at her sister's graduation, and didn't do it on purpose for attention. Her vomiting over 2 rows of seating happened because Anne pushed her into attending and refused to wait 10 minutes for grandparents to turn up and look after her sister, who was feeling unwell. If she were ill with norovirus or food poisoning, the same would apply. She wasn't feeling well, was pressured into attending, and predictably, suffered an embarrassing accident. Not to mention, it sounds like most of the times the parents have sided with Mary against Anne are purely because of this ongoing quest for revenge that Anne has been driven by. I cannot believe the YTA votes on this thread. Firmly not the a-hole. What happened to Mary and Anne is tragic, yes. To a certain degree, I can empathize with Anne always feeling like second fiddle. But God, she is a 33-year-old woman who deliberately ruined her sister's wedding for a petty grudge. Sometimes trauma is not our fault, but healing is always our responsibility. Anne is too old to be acting this way. There's a huge difference in personal accountability at 33 versus at 15 and becoming addicted to opioids against her will. Everyone in this post is screaming about favoritism. I don't think they know what that word means. Next story. Am I the a-hole for going on a motorcycle trip with my friends instead of my daughter's wedding? Some quick context. Last year, I was told my daughter was getting married in 2025. I immediately supported this decision and was there every step of the way. Following tradition, I gave her $4,500 to help with the venue payment. During the planning process, they changed from a local wedding to a destination wedding in Puerto Rico and moved the timeline forward a year to last fall, giving me a year less to pay for the wedding. Now I had to pay for flights and accommodations for people. Reservations for an Airbnb were made and purchased, and tickets were bought. Then they broke up over some pretty immature reasons. I was stuck with the bill. I tried for refunds but was told the trip was going ahead for revenge photos to make him feel bad. Because of that, and because my wife and stepkids are Puerto Rican, I said fine. In total, that trip cost me $22,500. Shortly after that trip, I was invited to ride through Glacier National Park with some buddies. I figured, well, I've paid for multiple trips to Disney, as well as multiple trips for people to go to Puerto Rico, so sure, I think I earned it. My buddies and I planned for this September. My daughter left about 4 months ago to go back to her man and didn't say a word to me. We haven't talked once since she left, zero explanation or call. The other day, she showed up at the house and told me, matter-of-factly, that the wedding is back on, and I needed to be there. It was going to be on Thursday, 9/11. I told her I can't make it. I had prepaid plans already. She said, "You're really going to miss my wedding?" I told her I was there for the first one. She said, "There wasn't one." I said, "Not according to my bank account." She walked off, and now I apparently am the a-hole. Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. Your daughter's going about the planning all wrong. She should be working with you to decide on a date to ensure the most important people are able to attend. Also, Thursday, 9/11? I can't help but feel that's a poor date choice. And midweek. It sounds like this too is going to be a gigantic toxic disaster, so the date seems perfect. Am I the only one getting red flags from this already failed relationship sealing the deal on Thursday, 9/11? Honestly, I was so ready to call you an a-hole until I read all this. Go have fun with your friends. Not the a-hole. If she's lucky, you can FaceTime in for the ceremony. Yeah, he can be there for the next one. I think everyone sucks here. You're making this all about money that you agreed to pay. Yes, you did pay an enormous amount for the non-wedding, but the option was very much there to say no once the wedding itself had been canceled. You're saying no to the current wedding because of all the things you've paid for, according to you. I gather because you didn't mention it, that she's not asking you to pay this time. That would be an absolutely reasonable no. She's just asking you to be there as her dad. What's impossible to know from your post is the kind of relationship you have and have had with your daughter. If she's leaving you out of planning her wedding, it sounds like you're not particularly close, so we don't know what that story is. But she wants you at her wedding, and your answer, "Not according to my bank account," is telling her I'm not even saying you're the a-hole for saying no. The problem is how you answered the question. I get she's being completely aggravating, but all of this didn't happen in a vacuum. If you've made your relationship with family members transactional, and I'm not saying you have, that might explain part of the rift between you. Believe me, I could not care less about the money. The 3,000 character limit on posts hampers one's ability to fully flesh out the situation. To be honest, I'm hurt by the fact that she just up and left and didn't even bother to call one time in months. She never even considered checking to see if that date worked for others. I was put off by the entitlement shown by suddenly showing up and saying, "Hey, this is the new date and I expect you to show up," after zero communication. And not to mention, it's 9/11, of which I'm a veteran and was in the Middle East on that very day. Not a lot of fun. Neither were the next 3 years as a result. Honestly, I feel this whole situation could have been avoided with one single phone call. Last story. Am I the a-hole for not letting my intellectually disabled stepbrother stay at my place? I'm 20 male, and mom got married 6 years ago. Her husband is Luke, and he has a son, Rhett. Rhett's 17 now, but he's intellectually disabled and can't live 100% independently. He needs help with things and always will, but he's more independent than people expect when they meet him. That's because he acts like a really young kid, and he gets clingy like a much younger kid when he likes someone. When my mom married Luke, Rhett got super fond of me really fast and became overwhelmingly clingy. My mom thought it was the sweetest thing, and Luke disliked me because he saw how unwilling I was to embrace having Rhett be so attached to me. Rhett hated when I wasn't at my mom's house and would cry and scream when I went home to my dad, who I lived with primarily. There were times he tried to follow me to my dad's house, and it was a whole ordeal that made me spend less time at my mom's house, which made Rhett more clingy whenever I was there or whenever he saw me. There were times he wandered away from Luke or my mom if he saw me with friends at the mall, and he'd follow us. He used to seek me out at school too. All this means I never really bonded with Rhett. I found him too much, and even though my mom wanted me to see him as a brother, I just didn't. When I moved into my own place last year, my mom annoyingly kept talking about how much Rhett missed me and how he wanted to see me. Then my mom and Luke told me Rhett wanted to come and stay with me for a few days. They said they would give me money so I wouldn't face any financial trouble having him, but they think he would have such a great time and get more of me, which he keeps asking about. I told them I wasn't comfortable with Rhett coming to stay, and Luke was like, "F you, Rhett deserves better than you for a brother." My mom asked me to do it for her and Rhett. She said it would make her whole year to see me embrace him and to see him get time with his favorite person. I told her I didn't want to deal with having a shadow again. She told me that was so sad because Rhett would light up my life if I gave him a chance and just loved him. She said it would do me some good to stop being so negative and would make a special person very happy. Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. You're not close with him and you don't view him as a brother, no matter how much they try to force it on you. Things like that have to happen organically, and the more they push it on you, it's natural to want to reject it. They likely want a little break from Rhett so you can get comfortable with him and provide regular respite for them. You're not the a-hole, and they should get over trying to force a connection that hasn't been there for 6 years. I know that's probably what they have hoped. That way they get respite, and Rhett's happy to be with the people providing it, and I'm the obvious choice for them. I don't blame them for wanting it, but someone else would be a better choice because it really wouldn't go well if I did it.